What is up, ninjas? My name is Sam World, and if you guys haven't noticed, the previous video was the release, a video previewing the new soundbank that we released for pretty much the Shapov sound set, which is inspired by the Shapov sound. Now, the sound itself, guys, is very groove house, and we've taken the pleasure of making sounds that are just gonna sound really crazy for that type of genre. And unique sounds that haven't been heard in there. Like, I've recently discovered some cool tricks you can do with the chorus in order to achieve like these crazy metallic sounds in Silent 1. So you're gonna see it a lot done in this sound bank, so you make sure to check it out, reverse engineer them so you can see how to do them yourself. There's just a lot of great stuff, and it's all now based on the Shapov sound. It's also based on the axe tone and the Sumi kind of sound, but it's mainly, we try to look at the Shapov sound as in his tracks and try and make stuff out of it, like the runic sound that he uses. So let's get started with this tutorial. We're going to be learning how to make a groove house drop. We're going to be utilizing the runic patch, which is meant to kind of be a recreation of the runic patch he has in his song. Obviously it's not going to be 100% because we're just utilizing one patch, you know, it's going to be runic. Now, I provided the baseline midis from the demo if you guys want to use those at starting points. I'm not going to use them, however. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to pick our key. I'm going to go with the key of G minor, like always, more simple, and make sure that it sounds properly. Go down just to test it, that we can't go any lower. Alright, so G. 2 is going to be the sweet spot for this bass. All basses are going to have sweet spots. What this means is like pretty much the last octave you can play in before it goes, and it just sounds too distorted, doesn't make any sense. Okay, so we're going to start off with our root note. It's going to be that one, and let's put this at 128. Dun, 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 dun. So in your head you should have like a bass side rhythm, but if you don't, there's also other ways you could probably do it, like getting a MIDI and just switching it around. I'll do it both ways. The first way I'm gonna do it is try and come up with a rhythm in my head and go from there. So we're gonna go with so we got and then so that's what we're going for. So I know I have to go up an octave up. Now in groove, bass lines go almost up an octave till they play a melody up there, and in instance it's always good to layer a sub bass with this, which we will do in this video. So let's get this pattern going first. Let's make these longer so they kind of have like a dun 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 dun. We'll just end it with the root note, which gives it that kind of closure. Now we're going to sidechain it, and I'm going to sidechain it to this kick. Now, guys, with the bank release, so far, I've only given out the snare shots. I'm going to do the snare MIDI today for sure, so if you guys want to pick all that stuff up, I'm thinking about either tomorrow or the next day to release a kick pack for it, because kicks are very important in this genre. If you don't use the right kick, your track's going to sound very not so groovy on the drop. So it's always good to have the right kick. So my friend is really a big groove house fanatic, so I asked him to send me 10 of his best kicks. So he's gonna be doing that for groove house mainly, and I've heard his tracks and he always has like the best kicks. He always says my kicks sound cringy, so fuck him. But we're gonna do that, and then I'm gonna try and get other stuff done like percussive loops and hi-hats. So then all of that free stuff will go with this sound bank eventually, and you guys, eventually I will make a video where I do a track start to finish like that. All right, so this is gonna be the first drop, so we're gonna put a compressor on it with sidechain to the kick. I've explained why I prefer to use the kick, but there's a video out there made by Artifacts which states why you shouldn't use a sidechain. I have yet to see it because I find sidechain is one of the most valuable things in mixing. Sidechain is just not an effect, it's a mixing tool in order to get your kick to pop through, in order for everything not to sound like a piece of shit when the kick hits. It's like you stepping on a piece of shit. The kick is your foot, and pretty much everything is a piece of shit, and you step on it, and if you're not, you know, it's gonna splatter all over. That's how it sounds like if you have a lot of elements playing and then you have the kick without any sidechain. Maybe I should watch the video. I don't know where he comes from that. Maybe he says use an LFO instead. I don't know. Anyways, all right, so we have that. That's gonna be our so let's get rid of these here. Now let's process the bass. Now in the demo for the bass, what I had, guys, was an OTT on the sound. Because we're gonna be using a sub in order to layer with this, then it's perfect to do it. Now we want to lower this back. Alright, now the next thing is we're going to duplicate this, get rid of the OTT, and now we're going to put a sub. Now the cool thing about being a sound designer, guys, is if you're a good sound designer, straight off out of the box, you can make a sound just sound like it's going to fit in your track. And that's what we try to do with these sounds, if that makes any kind of sense. So we're going to go into BA, and we're going to pick sub of the year, which is my favorite sub from this bank. And we're going to play. Now the sub will always get a little bit more of sidechain added to it because it's going to be more in the lower areas where the kick is actually present. Alright, so I chose the wrong EQ. We're going with the EQ8 before the sidechain, just getting rid of the highs a bit more. Now in silent tone here, we're going to do this is lower. Now since this doesn't have any low end to it because it's getting really squished the fuck out down here already, you know, we're getting rid of it. We can add reverb to it, and the way we're going to add reverb is just going to standard reverb in the return. You guys have seen me do this several different ways. Like in the Future Bass tutorial, I made an audio effects chain for it. Now I'm just going to do it this way. There's so many ways you can do it, but you know, I'm going to go this way, lower decay time, we'll size a bit, and then we're going to send this to it. Last thing is I'm going to put an OTT on the master just so you can see how it's going to sound like mastered. It always helps a lot, trust me, to just, not an OTT, my bad. I'm going to put like the fucking, you know, the multi-band one, which is a good patch that Ableton has, and usually it works really well, to be honest. Alright, now let's go the route of using the MIDI that I provided in the, pretty much when you buy the pack. I just provided the MIDI from the demo, and I'm gonna be releasing 20 free MIDI bass lines that I'm making at the moment, so I'm not gonna release those yet until they're done. I want to do 20, so it can help a lot of you guys learn the genre a bit more, especially, you know, if you're the type that hasn't tried it out. Now for me, the hardest thing about Groove House was pretty much the bassline rhythms, really, like getting them to sound very groovy, like you know, like the pros do. So here we're gonna go with this. We're gonna switch the sound to maybe something else. Like let's try, you know, let's try saw amp it. And this reminds me of that Need for Speed Carbon soundtrack. I forgot the name of the track in Need for Speed, but it's like when you first play the fucking game and you go in, it has that kind of melody, that kind of sound to it. We're gonna go with that, and we're gonna put that as our sub too. And if it's too low, we're gonna have to put it up. Nah, it works. So you can see it sounds very fucking professional. As like the sounds themselves were made pretty good. You know, I always try and do that with most of my sound banks. So You know, that's the crazy part, that you can just get it to sound so clean with just a simple OTT and shit. Okay, now let's go here. Let's say you want to make an original track and you couldn't come up with something, but now you have this. One of the things you can do is, like I've explained before, since we have a sub already playing in the down, we can make this an octave up and add melody to it if we choose to. So let's try and do that. Dun 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 dun. So we'll go with that there. Dun 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 dun. And there we go. Control J that down here now. And now this one doesn't really need to go up because this is just a sub to add that. There you go. So pretty much that's going to be the tutorial, guys. Very helpful. Hopefully you can see it. My best tips for you guys is obviously going to be to have a groove in mind in your head. You can even copy the groove of someone else and then give it a melody. And my biggest tip is first get the rhythm down, then get the melody down. If you can't come up with the rhythm, use the MIDI. You can use the MIDIs I provided. You can use any MIDI you have and then switch the melody up on it to whatever you had in your head. If you have a melody but you suck at making rhythms, then use a patch and give the melody you have in your head to that rhythm, and hopefully you can go from there. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you guys want to support me, as always, make sure to check out the bank. Make sure to get it. It's actually pretty cheap compared to the rest. $12, but if you use the code SHAPOV, you'll get it for $10. So cheap for 70 sounds. Anyways, guys, I'll see you guys next time. Take care and have a good one.